I wanted to show you guys how you would lay out a radius around the outfield of a baseball field. Now typically, there's a couple different ways that you could do this. One would be just to grab home plate to run a tape measure for the duration of the radius. So if it was like a 200-foot radius, you could spin it around 200 feet from home plate. You could draw out your line. As behind me, you can see a line's drawn out. This is not a consistent radius, so it's not something we can do on this one. Instead, what you'll see is that we have these stakes, and on them it says 5 foot offset to the face of the curb. Now on a turf field, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have a curb on the field that they're gonna nail the turf into. And so what you get is a 2x4 or a composite board that's on the inside, and that's the face of the curb. Our fence goes right into the center of the curb. And so when they give us an offset like this, what they'll give us usually is a hub or a nail in the ground. On that hub is a point where you can see the intersection there. So what it's telling us is that the face of the curb is 5 foot off of that. So what I'm gonna do, since our stuff is in the center of it, is I'm gonna measure off of that point on the hub. I'm gonna measure 4'6", and I'm gonna start spotting my line out. Now what I've done is I've connected in between each of those hubs. They're probably about every, I don't know, 22 feet or so. It's just arbitrary, whatever the surveyor would try to put them at. It never matches up to what we're doing. So what I would do is then I would eyeball in between what's gonna give that a smooth radius. So you can kind of see that here. And then once I do that, I go through and I measure 10 foot, and every 10 foot is gonna be the center of our post. And so that is how we get a radius if we don't have a consistent distance from home plate. So for instance, this one might be 330 feet to center field, but it might only be 315 feet to the foul poles. And that's how we make sure that we stay in step with their radius and with their distance. Here you can see that every 10 feet, I just put a hash. And so when we clean the dirt off of this subgrade, we still have a reference point, whether it is over here or back here, where that 10 foot is gonna be, so that we can make sure that our posts stay right on center on 10-foot centers. And so you can see that radius going smooth that way. And you can see it going pretty smooth that way. So here we are on a different field, and I've got some of this already marked out, but the big thing is, when you're going from your spot to spot that they give you, you're gonna want to have dots in between. That's kind of going to give you an opportunity to see exactly what that shape looks like before you draw your or paint your perimeter line that you're going to follow when you're setting your posts. What I've done is at each one of those stakes, I've got a finite measurement that I can measure off of their hub. But what I'll do is I'll go through a spot where I've got a finite point right here on my hub, and it goes over to here. So that's my 4'6" from that intersection, because that's a 5 foot offset. And I'll go to the next one, I'll put a dot down, and then I will walk and visualize that line with spots that I put down in between. And so that gives me an opportunity to come back, look down the line and see if it looks like a pretty smooth radius, which this one does. And then that will be the line that I ultimately paint out so that we can see it, and it's kind of a permanent fixture so that we have a reference point for our post setting.